Teachers of Reddit, they say, there are no stupid questions, but what's the most stupid question a student has ever asked you? I used to volunteer teaching at an after-school program for 14-year-olds. We were doing a project that involved balloons. One boy had blown his balloon, but couldn't get it tied. I tied it, and gave it back to him. He immediately tossed it up. As it sank to the floor, his face fell. Obviously disappointed, he asked, "Oh, so they're not helium?" Edit. Wow, so many comments. For those wondering, we did have a mini science lesson that evening. I explained to him that helium is not a balloon type, but is a gas that's lighter than air. I explained that he can get helium-filled balloons at most grocery stores, or places with helium tanks. I also explained that typically, helium is harvested from natural gas. He really was a sweet kid, but he definitely had his fair share of these kinds of moments. How do islands not float away? Really big anchors. He wrote it down. Also not a teacher, but when I was in high school in health class while going over reproduction, there was a fellow student who raised her hand and asked, if you were sterile, could you pass it on to your children? The whole class giggled and she, confused, said she was serious. She wanted to know, if you're sterile, could you pass it on to your kids? The teacher, with a smile, said to her, okay, let's think about this. What does it mean to be sterile? She began answering, it means that you can't have K. Oh. Followed by another round of laughter from the rest of the class. I once projected a picture of the Earth onto the front whiteboard. A student asked, how do astronauts stand on a planet like that? Edit. Was an 8th grade student, being totally serious, not under any noticeable influence of illegal substances. The same way, we all are standing on the moon right now. Had a student ask me, what are those pyramid-shaped things in Egypt called? Never seen a class laugh that hard before. My wife worked with a woman in the Senate. They were staffers, a long time ago, just out of college. She, not my wife, said, the Pentagon? Isn't that the hexagon-shaped building? After a lengthy explanation of the effects of volcanic eruptions on human communities, I had a grade 6 student ask me, why on earth people even make volcanic eruptions? Tourism. It's the best move the Hawaiians and Icelanders have ever made. You joke, but I know a bunch of Hawaiians who want the volcano to explode, so that it drives away the tourists and brings the housing prices down. I keep telling them, there is no way in the world I want to be Vesuvius. Not to mention the volcano is on the other side of the island. While I was student teaching, I had a student ask where Texas was on the map. I was projecting on the screen. The map was of China. I teach martial arts to little kids. I had a kid ask me if he could punch his mom now. Edit. You guys are great. Thank you for your funny replies. I'm having some good laughs. Well, K. Actually, his level of skill was not enough. She could easily dodge. Needs more training, then. My wife went to school to be a high school history teacher, and when she had her semester of student teaching, one of the students asked if China had grass while another who insisted that windmills made wine. Taught English and literature in a juvenile justice long-term treatment facility. I have many great stories. Me. This is a map of the United States. Here is the Midwest. It's where your math teacher is from. Student. Oh snap. We're in a war with them. Me. Are you thinking about the Middle East? Student. Oh yeah, is that a different place? Me. Playing a trivia game with students. Johannes Gutenberg invented what? Student. Shoots his hand up in the air quickly, before I even finish the question, and very sure of his answer, cheese. Student. Reading The Three Little Pigs out loud, and the big bad wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he passed it around. Me. I've never heard of that version of the story before, Mr. Student. Student. You wouldn't, Mr. Ellipsis, it's the hood version. Had a pupil ask me if the sun they saw in America was the same as the sun we saw here in Scotland, and why was their sun so much warmer. Edit. people acting like knowing what the sun is, and that there's only one, requires any more than nursery-level knowledge of astronomy. The kid was 15. Not a teacher, but there's one I'll never forget. What? Einstein's dead. This was a GCSE class. 15-16-year-olds. I had someone in my class who asked, so if Hitler was such a bad person, why don't they just kill him? Not a teacher, but in 8th grade sex ed class, we had a box where students could submit questions anonymously. One day, the teacher read aloud one of the questions, which asked, "My dad's penis is circumcised, but mine is not. Does this mean he isn't my dad?" Yes, he believed circumcision was hereditary. Not a teacher, but a classmate of mine asked if Asia was a town in China, and, assuming that she was right, said that it was crazy that so many people from our school came from one town. I was asked by a crying student once if there was a second moon. We were outside for recess, and as happens sometimes, the moon was visible. I said nope. Why? And she pointed to the moon and asked, "But aren't the sun and the moon the same thing?" 4th grade student, not special needs or anything. She was crying because the other kids were making fun of her for thinking the sun and the moon were the same thing. After I explained to her, the sun did not turn into the moon at night, and then back into the sun in the morning, she actually thought the moon was the sun, turned off. I did an impromptu science lesson that afternoon with the whole class. Thank you a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.